This is ESBR Boxing. I'm delighted to be joined by Danny as we're reacting to the announcement that Martin Bakole, the big heavyweight, has signed for Sky Sports and Boxer. So yeah, Ben Shalom signed him for Boxer. Will be fighting on Sky Sports. No fight announcement as of yet officially, but we do expect him to be fighting on Sky Sports in the coming months. Danny, first of all, thanks for joining me, mate. Hope you're well. And second off, yeah, kind of give us your thoughts on that announcement.
All good, mate. Cheers. No, as I said in our WhatsApp chat earlier, I think it's a great signing. Both for Bakole and Boxer. Bakole's obviously struggled quite a lot over the years, getting like regular fights, especially on like big UK TV. Obviously had to go abroad for the Yuka fight, and I think it's a good signing for Boxer as well. I think a bit thin in terms of world level heavyweights. You look at Parker's stocks taking a bit of a dive in the last 12 months. Fraser Clark career not really going yet, and then you're looking at what the likes like Michael Hunter and Jamie TKV after that. So no, I think it's a great signing and some really interesting fights for him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, I'm the first to admit that I was very wrong the last time when his fight against Tony Yuka. I obviously wanted Martin Bakole to win. However, just from based on what I'd seen and his inactivity and stuff, I didn't think he would. But he more or less battered Tony Yuka, and fair play to him. Yeah, so I'm excited to see him back in action. Let's say in a hypothetical world, Danny, he fights. It's the beginning of February now. Let's say he fights the end of next month, at the end of March, beginning of April. What kind of level of opponent do you want to see for Bakole next?
Well, they just announced Boxer, didn't they, that they have a show in Manchester on March the 25th, the Akole mandatory. So hopefully maybe see him out then. I don't think it's going to be anything special for that first fight. And I don't think you would be, begrudging of that. You very rarely see that with a new signing. So even just a sort of fringe top 40, 50 heavyweight just to get a run out and start building his profile on Sky Sports, sort of get more of the casual audience talking about him. Just you touched on that Yuka fight. I was in the exact same boat as you. People, I think like that still doesn't get talked about as like how big a surprise that was. He was like an 8-1 underdog going over to France, and as you said, he beat the bricks off Tony Yuka that night, and made a believer out of me. So really excited, but I wouldn't be expecting anything too stunning for his first fight. But hopefully after that, you can start seeing him with some recognizable names.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously that's a good few months ago now that Yuka fight, so a lot of time's passed since then. But I think you're right. He seems to always be in the gym, Martin Bakole, which is good with Billy Nelson obviously training him. And I do hope that we can see. I hope that's maybe would be a good card to throw him on. It's only what a month and a half away. Throw him on that card against just to get him out, get the ring rust off, get a few rounds, maybe even get a blast a KO in there against someone not great. Give everyone a notice of who he is, and then yes, as you say, moving into the summer or the spring, summer, and the rest of the year, there's some massive fights out there. For Martin Bakole. Here's one. Obviously, I think a lot of boxing fans might think that this is just me being ridiculous, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. Bakole is just signed for Sky Sports. Fraser Clark is a Sky Sports fighter or a boxer fighter. He's obviously only at the start of his professional career, Fraser Clark, but he has extensive amateur pedigree. Is that a fight you could see in the next 12 months?
I don't think so. I think they'll keep Fraser Clark well away from him. I think you'll probably more likely see him maybe with a Parker or a rematch with Michael Hunter. Bakole is a level off what Fraser Clark is at the minute, and I think if they were to fight this year, Bakole would probably work him over quite badly. But that's like no skin off Fraser Clark's back. He's obviously at the very start of his professional career, where Bakole, even though he's only 29, sort of feels like he's been about a lot longer than that, but obviously a much more seasoned professional.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Me too. I wouldn't throw him in with no way. I wouldn't throw Fraser Clark in there with Bakole now, but I was just throwing it out there because obviously, Fraser Clark actually is the more experienced fighter, I suppose, all in all, when you take in amateur and professional. But yeah, I think one that you mentioned there that could be an interesting fight is the Joseph Parker one potentially. We saw him last in action against Jack Massey. Didn't look like vintage Joseph Parker. Maybe it's everyone's basing Joseph Parker off the fact that he's a former world champion, fought Anthony Joshua Had life and death with Dylan White, and that was what was a cracking fight. Don't get me wrong, he's a good heavyweight on his day, but he hasn't been brilliant recently. If that fight were to happen at the back end of 2023 between Martin Bakole and Joseph Parker, who wins?
I think Bakole probably wins, to be honest. I think I like Joseph Parker. It's hard not to. Seems like a very sound fella. Like great heart, all that, but I think he's definitely on the decline as a heavyweight. A lot of tough fights, and like Bakole, look at the size of him, the strength of him. He can punch, fast hands. He'd have a much bigger reach than Parker. Just think it's an absolute nightmare of a fight for him, like at this stage. And I think, to be honest, it's probably one they'll try and make because Parker's got a decent name in the UK. Like he's not fucking Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, but he's got some name value, whereas Bakole doesn't really. And that's like one of the best ways to pick up fans is just to beat someone who people know. And I think if I was promoting Bakole and Parker, given what they both at, that's probably what my thinking would be with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I concur, mate. I do. Just finally, before we wrap it up, this is obviously just a quick reaction video to the signing of Bakole for Boxer, but may as well ask you and throw you on the spot. Do you think between now and when Martin Bakole hangs up his gloves in the future that he will become world heavyweight champion?
I was thinking about this when I was walking home. I actually think he will because he's number one with the WBA, right? Obviously, you've got Usyk, the super champion, Dubois, the regular champion. Like Dubois just gonna wait until that becomes vacant, and depending on how like the WBA want to do it, he'll either be elevated or it'll be a fight between Dubois and Bakole. And I'd pick Bakole over Dubois, to be honest. I don't think Dubois is world level. I don't think he'll ever reach true world level. And just at the fights Bakole's going to get at Sky, I think I'd pick him in all of them. So I don't see him losing that number one ranking. Wouldn't pick him against Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. I think him and Josh is a decent fight, but more just because of where he's placed and his age. He'll be coming 31, 32 when those belts start to fragment, you'd imagine, and he's really well placed. And obviously now he's got the promotional backing to get a shot. So I actually do think he will become a world champion.
Yeah, Brendan, I hope you're right, mate. He's a good fighter, and a lot of people were shocked recently about with his performance. Tony Yuka, I know Billy Nelson gave me a bit of shit, so if he's watching this, apologies, Billy. But yeah, listen, mate, thanks for jumping on with me there and doing a quick video. Yeah, fingers crossed we see Martin Bakole out in action as soon as possible. Thanks very much, Danny.
100% Paul, mate. Cheers.
All the best.